you, Lynn, for that introduction. Thank you, Jeremy Mohan, for hosting, and to our community leaders that are here. It's a pleasure to be here to share a little bit about what's going on our side of the arsenal at the NASA Marshall Space Flight Center. It has been a tremendous year of accomplishments and milestones for NASA, where we are opening a new era of space exploration. Let's take a look. And here we go. One year ago, the Artemis 1 mission launched from Kennedy Space Center on the most powerful rocket ever built space launch system that was led and developed here at Marshall Space Flight Center on Reston Arsenal. A nearly flawless mission in partnership with other NASA centers and our industry partners, our academic partners, and international partners across the world. Really opened a new era of exploration in the Artemis generation and the missions that would come behind it. Combining the power and the capability of SLS, the only vehicle that can launch crew and cargo to the moon on a single launch. It's going to be a critical capability for the long-term goals that we have as a nation and our Mars objectives within the Artemis campaign. We received all the data back from that launch, and it was, again, almost a near flawless launch. We're now taking that data and applying it to prepare for the missions that come behind it. You may have seen a weird aircraft flying in the air a few weeks ago. NASA Super Guppy landed in Huntsville International to bring the Orion heat shield back from Artemis 1. To bring it to Marshall Space Flight Center, our technicians are using the world-class capability of 7-axis milling machine to mill off samples from that heat shield to support the analysis that we continually do on the performance of that arm. And it was just a tremendous opportunity to get to see the heat shield and see that piece of history back here in the Rocket City. All that data is helping us to prepare for Artemis 2, which is scheduled to launch in the end of 2024. Just Monday, we had the Artemis 2 crew here on site to hear from them and to give the employees a chance to ask questions, to hear how their training's going, and we also gave them some tours of the center to focus on how we're preparing their launch vehicle to support their mission on Artemis 2. Reed Wiseman is the commander, Victor Glover is the pilot, Christina Cook is the mission specialist 1, and Jeremy Hansen is a Canadian Space Agency astronaut, is our second mission specialist. So it was a real treat to have them on center and show them how dedicated our workforce is, how this community is preparing their launch vehicle and preparing a vehicle that would be safe for them to be able to accomplish their mission to return humans around the moon for the first time in 50 years. We will launch the first female, the first person of color, and the first international partner to the moon on this Artemis 2 at the end of next year. It's just a tremendous opportunity and continue to build on the missions that we have forward. Down in our component facility at the Michoud Assembly Facility down in New Orleans, which is part of Marshall Space Flight Center, where we manufacture the major components of the space launch system. The core stage for that Artemis 2 mission is almost complete. We'll roll out of the factory after the first of the year, probably in February, and ship to Cape Canaveral to begin stacking procedures for that Artemis 2 launch. So we are on schedule for that launch and ready to support the missions as the other components of the vehicle between the Orion module. The boosters are already in Kennedy. All that's coming together to support that launch while the crew is preparing for the mission that they're going to fly during Artemis 2. We also have hardware at MAF that is going for Artemis 3, 4, and 5. So this is not just a one and done mission. We are on a cadence to build on everything that we learned from each flight to support our exploration goals that we have in the future. You get to Artemis 3. This is our schedule to return humans to the surface of the moon for the first time in 50 years. And NASA Marshall is leading the development of the human landing system to accomplish that goal. We originally partnered with SpaceX for the Artemis 3 mission, and now we have a second provider, Blue Origin, which will come online for the Artemis 5 mission. So SpaceX will fly Artemis 3 and 4 to return humans to the surface, and then Blue Origin will fly the Artemis 5 mission as we're currently scheduled. We're excited to have 2 lander providers to support our lunar exploration goals and to return Americans to the surface of the moon and international partners with us in the future. Very exciting mission, and we're proud to be leading that effort for the agency. And these partners are making tremendous progress on their designs. We're working with them. Some of the noises you may hear coming from our side of the arsenal are components and engines being tested for these different partners to support these little campaigns. And one of our specialties is structural engineering and structural testing. So we've offered the Director Sharp to do some structural testing at this facility with the noise that we're going to create next year with even bigger engines that are coming for testing with our partners. So be ready. We'll make sure your building's good and strong when it's done. After we return humans to the moon, it's on to establish a sustainable presence on the moon. This is not just flags and footprints like we were in Apollo. So NASA Marshall is leading the development of the habitation systems with our industry partners to support those long duration crew missions on the surface. The goal is to get to up to 60-day missions on the surface of the moon with a crew of 2, eventually a crew of 4. And so we're now developing the concepts and requirements on what those surface habitation systems look like, including the environmental control and life support system to keep our astronauts safe and to provide oxygen and to remove CO2. So our teams are leading that effort now. We've been working with the industry now for a few years. One of the major developments that we have going is in the area of soft goods and inflatable habitats. And so some of the other noises you may be hearing are us doing burst and pre-testing of those habitat systems in one of our old flame trenches from one of our old test stands. It gives us an opportunity to evaluate the designs of these soft goods and ensure they're going to be safe when we fly to the surface. And we have one of our partners coming up here in the next week or so is going to do a full-scale burst test of their inflatable habitat, and it is going to be quite good, sure. Everything we do is enabled through partnerships, whether that is community partnerships and industry partnerships, academic and even international partnerships. I mentioned the habitation systems. We're partnering with the Italian Space Agency in developing a multi-purpose habitat that they intend to fly to the moon. We're going to be partnering in developing that habitat, kicking off the mission concept review for that in January. We're excited with that partnership. Overall, it's the goal for NASA and for America to remain committed to fostering the ingenuity of American people, as well as working with like-minded partners across the world to further reach our knowledge and discovery out into the universe. And we're doing this through the Artemis Accords. We have over 32 countries as of today that have signed the Artemis Accords that establishes a framework for cooperation between countries involved in lunar exploration to facilitate further discovery and peaceful exploration of the universe. So these partnerships are critical to what we're doing, not only as an agency, but as our center. And they're going to help us explore further and go further. And this is how this Artemis campaign is different than Apollo, because we're going together with our partners. Closer to home in low Earth orbit, a beacon for global diplomacy and international partnership is the International Space Station. The first module for the ISS launched 25 years ago this month. And for almost 23 years now, Marshall Space Flight Center has been leading the science activities on the International Space Station continuously, 24/7, 365 at our Payload Operations and Integration Center. We've done over 4,000 science investigations during that time, working with well over 260 crew members that have flown to the ISS during that time. One great example of a recent science payload that we worked with our industry partner is actually 3D printing a human meniscus in zero gravity. On Earth, that's being tested now to 3D print tissues, but you have to support that tissue development in the gravitational environment. In zero gravity at the International Space Station, a unique biofabrication facility, we can grow a more stronger meniscus in human tissue that we can now test, and hopefully we'll be able to infuse in medical recoveries. And how many people have had knee injuries right in this room? And surely many of our soldiers have to deal with that as well from their injuries. And so these types of experiments are helping advance not only what we do in space, but life here on Earth as well. In order for our astronauts to live continuously in the space station, we have to take care of their water, their CO2, their waste. And Marshall leads the development of all the environmental control and life support systems for the International Space Station, as well as the advanced capabilities that we're developing for not only long duration surface missions on the moon, but also to go to Mars. One of our goals is to really reduce the amount of up mass and the mass that we have to carry with us on these long duration trips, and that includes water. And so we set a goal for 98% water recovery in our closed loop life support systems, and we achieved that goal this year. So everything your human body produces in terms of liquid, you guys can use your imagination there. We can recover 98% of that and reuse for future, and that's really going to cut down the amount of mass we have to carry. So we like to say we've made yesterday's coffee into tomorrow's coffee. Our science portfolio at Marshall is not quite as big as our human spaceflight portfolio, but it's critically important to what we do for the agency. You may have seen a new era of astronomy with the images and research that's coming back from the James Webb Space Telescope. Truly tremendous, groundbreaking research that is enabled by the work that was done on Redstone Marshall in one of our unique facilities, the X-ray and cryogenic facility. We focused on the development, testing, collaboration, and calibration of the mirrors on the James Webb Space Telescope. And you see an example of that in the image. If you look really closely in the center of that image, there's a little bit of a break there. It's actually the zipper on the bunny suit that guys are wearing. That's image magnification that you see from James Webb. That's just one of those segments of the mirrors that we tested and calibrated and provided that information to the point that we were able to predict within 3% of the actual on-orbit performance of that instrument. And that's what's allowing us to get back some amazing images we have and the clarity we have for the discoveries that James Webb is doing. Just a tremendous asset that we're just now breaking in and starting to see the science get back to that mission. That work's been enabled through a long-standing history of Marshall leading in X-ray astrophysics. In December of 21, we launched our own X-ray imaging telemetry explorer, XP experiment, which is studying black holes and the polarization of the energy that gets created in the universe through X-ray astronomy. This is a collaboration between NASA and the Italian Space Agency. We've already generated well over 100 science papers from this, and there's many more coming. And this is just another string in a long line of history that we have flying X-ray astrophysics experiments. The first one was Chandra, which will celebrate its 25th anniversary next year, which is amazing in itself considering it was only designed for a 5-year life. We produced over 150 science papers from Chandra just last year. We're able to combine now the imagery from Chandra and XP to study these phenomena in our universe in new ways, which are going to allow us to really continue to understand how our universe operates even further out into deep space. Our Earth science, taking care of spaceship Earth. This is an area that's not well known that we do at Marshall, but a lot of this is done in partnership with UADH out at the NSSTC off-site. A lot of the weather data that you see on the National Weather Service, especially related to hurricanes, is coming from data that's been analyzed or run through our models developed at Marshall Space Flight Center. Since 2002, Marshall's SPORT program, the Short-Term Prediction Research and Transition Program, is allowed to take all of the data that we're collecting from our instruments in orbit and be able to turn that into analytical and application information for decision makers, not only within the weather services, but other government agencies and third world countries around the world through our severe program. So SPORT works collaboratively with those agents to make sure that we can provide data and analysis in a common way to support disaster response and disaster preparation for different areas around the world. It's really a tremendous research tool that we're applying. And now we've taken that data a step further with our project called IMPACT, which is the Interagency Implementation of Advanced Concepts Team. With the new emergence of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data analytics, we have developed new models to take this earth science data that we have as an agency from all the various satellites we have in orbit to produce new models and using these new tools in AI to predict where we may have natural disasters, what crop yields may be, where there may be land use issues around the earth. Tremendous capability that we've developed, and we partnered with IBM recently to develop the first open source model using AI and ML to access our earth science data. This is an example of one of the tools that we have that's available for researchers and other government agencies that's updated daily, different layers of what you can see from the earth imagery data. And this has most recently been applied in studying and advancing and fighting wildfires out in the West, because you can get responsive data very quickly from our imaging sources to see what's happening here on Earth. Tremendous capability in our earth science team. It's one of the biggest growth areas we're seeing in our science capability today. In our technology development, we're continuing to advance propulsion technology in ways that we will need to support exploration for the future. So what you see in the image here is one quadrant of a solar cell development technology that we've been working with local industry to establish this novel propulsion capability where you can use solar energy to propel spacecraft around. It's near limitless thrust, which can support opportunities to maneuver without regret, for cislunar monitoring, for exploration, as well as unique vantage points for space domain work. So we have flown technology demonstrations of this. This single 1/4 of what a solar cell will be the largest solar cell ever launched and operated on a spacecraft. And this is currently a tech demonstration that's being developed. We're working with a number of partners to secure launch capability and launch opportunity for this as we go forward. Just a tremendous technology that our team has developed and carrying on their long propulsion expertise at Marshall Space Facility. As we look to beyond the moon and going to Mars, we have to understand where we want to land and what we want to study when we get there. And so NASA has embarked on the Mars Sample Return mission, which has the goal of returning the first samples from Mars ever. And the goal is to launch in 2030, to launch a lander that will fly to Mars. That lander will have a rocket inside. And as we speak, the Mars Perseverance rover has been collecting samples and depositing those samples on the surface of Mars. So once we land, samples will be inserted into the Hexcomb sample container on the Mars Ascent Vehicle, which is the rocket that will launch those samples from Mars orbit, from the surface of Mars into Mars orbit, to be collected by an orbiter and returned to Earth. The Marshall Space Flight Center, with our industry partners, is leading the design and development of that Mars Ascent Vehicle. So we will be the first group ever to launch a rocket from another planet. That's pretty dang cool. So this mission to return samples from the surface of Mars will be the first of its kind, and will bring us tremendous knowledge of the Martian surface, and will enable some decision making we have on where we will land humans for the first time. This is a truly complicated mission, but it is a truly exciting mission, one of a kind. We are in the process of looking at different architectures right now that may fit a little more within our budget profile. You may have seen some news on that But we are very confident we have an architecture and mission that will be just tremendous for our nation to understand what's going on with our service to help us to really advance to where we want to be, which is human total service to Mars. To get humans there, we need advanced propulsion systems to get them there faster. And so in January this year, NASA signed a unique partnership with DARPA to develop and fly the first nuclear thermal propulsion engine in orbit, which we believe is the propulsion system we will need to send humans to Mars. NTP is 2 to 3 times more efficient and faster than chemical propulsion systems. So we believe we need this technology for our human transits to Mars. So this flight demonstration, this partnership with DARPA, being the first time we've ever demonstrated one in orbit, is be a tremendous step towards developing those nuclear thermal propulsion systems we need for those Mars missions. And it's a great partnership that we have with DARPA, with our industry partners, anticipating a launch in 2028 timeframe. So this is a very exciting mission. We're excited to be a part of this engine development piece of this with the industry in partnership with DARPA. So the Artemis era is here, and it's heralding a future of long-term exploration with sustained presence on the moon and then moving on to Mars. Through the Artemis, the United States will lead the international and commercial coalition to advance our scientific research, maintaining our national posture, and inspiring the next generation. Inspiration is not just a byproduct of what we do, but it is one of our 3 major goals of our Moon and Mars program. NASA is part of national security space. We do that through national posture, through the technologies we're developing, the partnerships we have with other government agencies, as well as our partners, with the ultimate goal of a long-term presence in humans on Mars. We choose what we do and the things we do for national posture to greatly impact not only life here on Earth, but life in space, but also to advance us as a nation. And I think we all see examples of NASA do that very well. And we're actually a beacon of diplomacy that is often used by the State Department in building these partnerships with like-minded partners and allies that we have across the world. Our Mars exploration is going to captivate a new generation. It's going to instill a new era of discovery and scientific exploration that we haven't seen in our history. So in closing, I'd like to say thank you, and I hope that what you see resonates with you, and we're excited about the missions we have. Marshall Space Flight Center has been a key leader in our space exploration goals for over 60 years now. In 2025, we will celebrate our 65th birthday, all on Redstone Marshall. And we are planning a big bash. More to come on that, for sure. This event today, the theme was Redstone around the world. Well, we're taking it out of this one. Thank you to our partners. Thank you to everybody here today. And thank you for being a part of our mission and the support you give us. We have really bright future ahead, some exciting things coming forward. Look forward to joining us on that journey. Thank you.